So, how do you get to school in the morning then, Sue?
Bicycle.
Everybody the same?
Yes.
Everybody by bicycle? Do you do that in Paris, Anne? The same? How about in Taiwan? Do you use the bicycle there?
School bus.
How far is your journey to school then, Dora? Is it a long way?
10 minutes.
I want you to think about your journey to school. Close your eyes for a minute. Think about when you open the door of the house and the journey here to Newnham Language Centre. Have a think about it just for a minute. You can close your eyes if you want to, as long as you don't go to sleep. For example, usually when I cycle to school, I see a lot of other people on bicycles. Very simple thing. Yeah? It doesn't have to be something special. Okay, just with your partner, just tell your partner things you usually see, or maybe something unusual that you saw on one day. Okay?
Okay, this is a nice kickoff to the lesson. The context is nicely set, it's personalized, students using their imagination, their own experiences, and I like that kind of beginning. And the teacher also gets them to do a little bit of pair work, talking to each other. There is a little bit of the problem here in that the target language structure is for actions that we saw or heard people doing in the past, and the teacher begins by asking, what do you see every morning? Then he kind of remembers to say what you saw, but he doesn't actually ever set the students into thinking about a clearer focus into people and their actions. And this in fact happens later in the lesson. So I'm going to move the tape forward a little bit, just here.
Very nice, very nice. So, this. Okay. What about you, Anne?
I see an accident between pedestrian and cycle.
Really? What happened?
Okay, so he's now eliciting and writing the ideas on the board, but the students have not attempted to discuss any of these activities. They haven't, the stage has very little diagnostic value. It's just eliciting ideas.
What happened to the person on the bicycle?
When she was crossing the road, she didn't see him.
What's the verb? Preposition? Crash? Crash up? No. Crash.
Into.
Okay. Francesca? Crashed a window. Is that okay? Can you crash a window? Yeah, so what's the past, Elton? Broke. Break. Okay. So, the boy, there's the verb, a window.
Okay, so here he's organising his elicitation into activities that maybe were seen in progress and activities seen as completed activities in the past. So that's a really nice board. I like the idea of organising the materials in two sections.
Okay, now you can see I've written some things on this side, some things on this side, okay? I want you to think, why are some things on the left, some things on the right?
This is nice elicitation.
I want you to think about what we were talking about last week and this week, about whether we see all the action or part of the action. Yeah.
Okay, this is clearly recalling past simple versus past continuous. Part of the action, some of the action, or in the middle of the activity. But typical of teachers who don't want to talk about grammar explicitly, is kind of avoiding and shirking around the issue. That's fine. These are teenagers, maybe he doesn't want to use terminology.
All of the action or part of the action. Just check together, yeah? See what you think. Which did we see all the action? Which did we see part of the action? Yeah? Don't tell me, check in pairs.
In fact, it's possible to have seen both parts of the action. You know, there are some activities that could have been seen whole either way or part either way. So it's not very clear.
Okay, what do you think then?
A girl go to school, she photographs a man in windows. We see part of the action.
You think part of the action. Does anybody think that's wrong?
Part of the action is okay, but it might have been clearer for the students to say, I saw this activity in the middle of it. Did it continue afterwards? So that kind of concept is missing. When I left, was it finished? Was this finished? No, it was in the middle, something like that.
Francesca, what do you think?
That a cyclist crashing into a man is a moment, and a girl go to school is a continue. Something that's not finished.
Okay, so if I draw a timeline,
The timelines in the lesson are really nice, so I'm going to proceed, and they're really nicely and clearly designed, so I'm going to move ahead. But they look very similar here. It's actually nice to have watched them being created rather than see them as complete.
about number one, a man, dog for a walk. What do you think, Marco?
We saw only part of the action.
Part of the action. Yeah, I agree, I think. Do you all agree?
Yes.
You didn't see the man come out of the house with his dog and take his dog back into the house. You saw part of it. Okay, what about a girl? Okay, that's one bit of information. Go to school. She, how would I change the verb, do you think? She,
This is nice. He's relating past knowledge to what she's presenting today. The past continues as an elliptical phrase. I saw a girl who was going, or she was going. Now I saw a girl going into school. That's really nicely done here.
together some way. What do you think? What did I see? Any idea? What's the action?
Shake hands.
Hmm?
Shake hands.
Shake hands.
There's a little bit of a problem here in that he's kind of using some cues that the learners have problems with the vocabulary of the prompts. That's not a very good idea. He's trying to relate new grammar and this new vocabulary is kind of meddling with the kind of processing of the difficult concepts of actions that we see in the middle of them, complete and complete. This is quite a sophisticated concept, and new vocabulary shouldn't have been involved.
She didn't want to shake hands with me, Jerry, sorry. No. Yeah? Waving. So what would be the whole sentence then?
Lady D was waving. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The presentation is clear, but now we're beginning to go into controlled practice that's maybe out of context. So the students are not kind of getting it. There's very little modeling because the teacher is kind of anti-drilling. But one of the problems that I see is that there is a lack of context and a lot of a kind of a larger framework. When do we say these things? We say these things when we're telling a story, and a very possibly a nice context would have been kind of a policeman reporting, or a policeman interviewing people who were witnesses. That's when people say they have to be precise. So that kind of context framework that will kind of get the students to think, when do real people say these things in the real world?
But if we do it like this or this?
I saw Lady D waving to the crowd.
Okay. Okay, she was waving for a long time then, I didn't see all of it. Right, okay. You have your picture.
It could have been, I saw the Queen die, waved to the crowd. That prompt could have been used either way, so I don't know why the teacher automatically thought the waving to the crowd was the correct one. She might have just waved once for all we know.
Piece of paper, yeah? Can you have a look at it? Have you got a good memory, do you think? You think so? How about you, Nicole? You got a good memory? Sure? You don't look too sure. How about you, Dora? Have you got a good memory?
No.
You have. Okay, you're honest. Okay, have a look at the sentences here, just for 1 minute. Take a photograph with your mind of what's here. Okay, stop. Turn the paper over. Okay, now can you remember anything, Wojtek? What did you see this morning on the paper?
On the paper, I see ambulance rush to the accident.
Is that okay? Can you help him, Elton?
No, I don't think this is an activity that's really very productive. It's quite manipulative and it's based on memory, but anyway, it's a practice activity. I don't have very much else to say apart from it's difficult for the learners, it's out of context. There is no clear model on the board or on a handout for them to kind of be sure.
Try together, and then after 1 or 2 minutes, one person can look at the words and test the other person.
That's a
Okay?
nice idea.
A stupid workman whistling. I saw a stupid workman whistling at a woman.
Whistle.
Did you see all of it? Did you see him leave his house and go back to his house?
Milk.
Okay, the lesson is about to finish. There's kind of it hasn't really progressed into any free practice. Like, for example, a very good activity would have been to get them to see a video, and one of them could have been the tester and the other one could have been the witness or something, and the memory tester could be watching the video and the witness could be just saying, well, I saw someone open a door, opening it or something. I don't know. There is no real free production. It's kind of manipulative and prompted by pictures and sentences. And still, the learners at the end are making quite a few mistakes. I don't think they've kind of grasped the whole thing, and they haven't been given some opportunity for fluency. But there are some there are some good elements about this teacher's lesson. There's variety. There's some attempt to do a little bit of pair work. There's attempt to do discovery learning. But I think the main flaw for me is the absence of a very clear context setting from the beginning that says, you know, it's all in the past, you were a witness, and some of these things you saw in the middle, so something like that. And so from the beginning, people, the students are kind of left a little confused. I think that's all. As far as I'm concerned, this lesson has some good elements, a good clear board stage, some discovery learning, and so on. But it doesn't actually lead the students to some sensible production.